So we're told the Prime Minister shared a cordial nod and smile with U.S. President Donald Trump across the dinner table in Asia. There was no direct discussions between the men and none planned since Trump ended our tariff talks, apparently offended by that Ronald Reagan ad paid for by the government of Ontario. Here to talk about that and a whole lot more, we're pleased to welcome CTV pollster Nik Nanos from Nanos Research, joining us tonight from Calgary, Alberta. Thanks for making a little time for us tonight, Nick.
Great to join you and all your viewers.
So we're seeing the opinion writers and all the pundits now suggesting that it's time Prime Minister Carney just level up with Canadians about where things stand with the United States. What are you sensing is the national sentiment here?
Well, it's interesting that, when we ask Canadians about the economy, they're quite pessimistic. They're worried about the future, and actually they think that the economy will get weaker in the next 6 months. But when we look at the ballot question, it's basically a dead heat, a statistical tie between the Liberals and the Conservatives. So much for a Mark Carney honeymoon. Right now, there are almost just as many people that are looking to vote Liberal as they are looking to vote Conservative.
How do Canadians generally feel about the strategy the Carney government has been taking with the Americans so far?
Well, they're a bit impatient. In research that we've done, what it suggests is that Canadians want to see some sort of action or progress sometime before the end of 2025. And I think that's why there's so much pressure on the Carney government now. He created very high hopes during the last federal election that he would be able to move things forward on the trade front, but it's been stop and go for the Liberals since the federal election.
I have to ask you about that Reagan ad that I mentioned off the top there. We know Republicans and MAGA hate that ad. What do Canadians think about it?
Well, I think Canadians are in favor of anything that they think helps the file with the free trade agreement with the United States. And the fact of the matter is that this ad was from Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario. Not a big surprise, just because he's been under a lot of pressure because of closures and stress in the automotive sector.
Right.
And I think it's his attempt to be proactive when it comes to the trade file with this ad that is targeting Republicans in the United States.
And they are Reagan's own words, which is perhaps more powerful than anything.
Yeah, I think so. But we have to remember there aren't as many Reagan Republicans in the current formation of the Republican Party as there are MAGA individuals, right? And you have to think, the religious right is still a key factor. The Tea Party is still a factor. The Republican Party is like four parties, with the Reagan Republicans being more like the resistance within the Republican Party than a major part.
Good point. So Mr. Carney will be back in this country just ahead of his first budget. It's safe to say that the future of his young government is sort of riding on this spending plan?
Well, from a parliamentary perspective, absolutely, because he does not have a majority in the House of Commons. He's short about 3 votes or thereabouts. The reality is that he's going to need the support of individuals outside of the Liberal Party, or someone's going to need to catch a very convenient and strategic cold or fever to not show up to vote in the House of Commons. So this is his real first big test. Canadians are going to see what's in this in terms of a vision for the future when it comes to jobs and the economy, and they're going to want to know what the plan is for Canada to increase its economic resilience.
Would you expect the opposition to actually spark an election, though? Like, is there any appetite for that at all?
Well, I think the only way that it could happen if there was some sort of Keystone Cops moment from one of the opposition parties. I think the fact of the matter is Pierre Poilievre, although the party is very close, the Conservative Party is tied with the Liberal Party when it comes to ballot support, Pierre Poilievre personally significantly trails Mark Carney when we ask Canadians who they would prefer as Prime Minister. He's basically about 20 percentage points behind Mark Carney.
So he's kind of a disadvantage to his own party at this point.
Yeah, the ironic twist is that right now people might not like the Liberals or be happy about the last 10 years, but they seem to like Mark Carney. And then there are other people that might not be hot on Pierre Poilievre, but they like the Conservatives, and they believe that it's still time for a change.
Interesting. Nick, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for speaking with us tonight.
Take it easy.
You too. Nik Nanos from Nanos Research joining us this evening from Calgary, Alberta. More to come. Stay with us.